listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This podcast is sponsored by Ingram Micro's Imagine Next. It's not about the destination. It's about going someplace you never thought possible. Go to imaginenext.ingrammicro.com to find out more. Let's get into it.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Shelby Skrhak, and our guest today is Mike Stachura.
Nailed it. Perfect, Mike Stachura. It's been an honor. We have hung out a few times now. I'm super excited to be back, Shelby. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, easy for me to say. So, yes, welcome back to the show. We've had you many times, and we've had some great discussions and some fun discussions. But I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit. When we were prepping for this podcast, we were chatting before Halloween, and you said that you had a Halloween party to go to where you had to dress up as a commercial. What did you choose?
Oh,
I really put you on the spot there.
I went as a Coors Light party train. And it worked out tremendously well. I took a little cooler over the shoulder, and then I cut out a Coors Light cardboard box, and I made it into a little train. And then I had a cooler that was just right around my neck, filled with Coors Light, and I was able to walk around the party and just keep saying, "Love train, love hands, come on, love train."
I love it. It's a practical costume as well as an entertaining.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
And it made it great because I never needed to go to the fridge to get another beer.
Exactly.
Good. I'm good to go.
All right. Well, so today we are talking about LG Electronics DirectView LED screens. So, Mike, what is LG's DirectView LED screen?
What a great question. And it's been such a fun industry to be in because it seems like every couple of years there's a new technology or a new term that comes out, and then they have to bring up a new acronym with it.
Right.
It can't just be the regular technology. So DirectView LED is basically because you're looking directly at the source of the light. So the LEDs are mounted directly to a little panel. So if we look at sort of the history of TVs, there was the CRTs that everybody had, big tube ones. Mm-hmm. And then it went to kind of plasma, and then there was LCD, and then there was LED LCD, and now there's DV LED. So even the terms themselves are starting to kind of get reused, but the applications are so different. OLED, we have OLED now, organic light emitting diodes. So there's a whole encyclopedia of different terms. But in the commercial space, DV LED, DirectView LED has been just the hot spot. It's been the hot topic of the past couple of years.
Okay, so for us that are trying to catch up with, we know LCD is the old, LED is the new. Will you explain a little bit of the technology and what's then the difference between regular LED and DirectView LED?
Yeah, great question. So in our homes, in our houses, in our living rooms, we're going to have typically an LED LCD TV. Mm-hmm. So it's still making the picture with LCD, but then the backlight is LED. So it's the same kind of technology of taking that LED backlight, but instead of shining it through some liquid crystal and going through some polarization filters and stuff like that, it's now just those three colors on a board. And it's really cool. You're seeing it in the home space as well. But when we think of things like scoreboards, everybody's seen a big scoreboard at your school or at your local sports venue. Go Bills. So where DirectView LED is different is in and of itself is the technology. There's so many different specs and verticals that it can play in, from indoor, outdoor, cinema, marine, like for on ships, like screens on the side of cruise ships, and your big screens when you're on a Carnival cruise ship and you're playing in the pool. Cool, there's the big ship. But it's really just the way the picture's kind of created and then the applications that it can play into.
Okay.
Why DirectView LED has really shined recently, I think, is because the modular design of it is that you're not limited to a 32, a 43, a 50, a 55. You're now able to say, my wall is 10 feet by 12 feet, and you can fill up just about every square inch of that with DirectView LED. So it's really neat that you're able to create a more custom display for your application.
And these are, with LED, the difference between, I understand, backlit versus side lit. Is that right? That's where, you have a bevel you do or you don't. The backlit eliminates the bevel. So this is kind of even beyond that, where you could put together basically a Lego wall of these direct view LED diodes, I guess.
That's a great analogy where you just keep snapping them together. And the more Legos you put together in a piece, the bigger Lego set you have. So with your TV, you're going to have maybe a Duplo. I think with a lot of kids nowadays, you got a Duplo compared to little Legos. And you can take the little Legos and you can make something exactly the same size as a Duplo, or you can make something way bigger or way smaller.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect analogy.
Okay.
Perfect analogy. And it's a neat technology. It is really cool. It can curve, it can bend, indoor, outdoor. Let's talk about the high brightness specs. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah. So let's go into those. So the curving, there's from LG, the true curve DV LED and then transparent DV LED. And I thought these were two really innovative ways. So the true curve this is not your monitor that kind of curves around you. This is something different, right?
Yeah. So for that technology, it would be something if you had a display, think of like Times Square, and you wanted to curve a display around a building, or you wanted to create a sphere. And there's two sort of different situations we'll talk about. First, sticking with the building piece. That's where it can get really cool because you can do things like have anamorphic content. And if you've ever seen like that art, you're scrolling through Facebook where someone draws like in chalk on the street and it looks like a big hole in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's just the way you're looking at it through kind of chalk. You can do that same thing with a display on the side of your building. So almost have like a hand reaching out, or have the car jumping out of the building. Looks super cool.
Right.
There's some really cool content with that. And I know with being a lot of the Ingram partners have access to that content too, which is awesome. But it's really cool. You can do some neat stuff like that. And direct through LED, because you can sort of move it, bend it, be flexible. You're seeing a lot of cinema applications as well. So a lot of production studios that are using that same curvature, where instead of curving a display around a building, you're now going convex or concave and then building almost like a dome. And then you're able to build an environment virtually. So take like Unreal 5 engine and then move a rock from here to here. Mandalorian is a great case of how they actually filmed it. It's just a virtual background using this direct view LED technology. It's this big dome you're looking into where the actors kind of stand in front, but then it allows for like the producers and the director to say, we need the sun to be 10 minutes later. And then you can actually move that source of light right then, as opposed to, we got to wait till tomorrow. So it's really cool. You're able to make a lot of cool content, a lot of neat different things like that. But yeah, if you ever check out the little production studios with it, it's a fun little application.
So as opposed to a flat green screen, you can curve this above you, around you, all around.
Yep, exactly. So instead of a green screen now, it's your green dome, and it's live and it's happening, and you can actually see it in there, and it's all married up with the cameras. It's super cool, and it's such a good technology that we don't know that that's how they do it.
Right.
So that's a little movie magic there.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then, what is the transparent DV LED?
So transparent is really cool. It's a film where they actually put the LED diodes directly onto a film. So if you had probably not, you wouldn't really do it in your house, but if you had a corporate building, or think of a mall where you have you're standing in the middle area and you can see floors 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now that glass barrier that prevents, the railing that prevents it from kind of falling off, you could put like this direct to LED signage on there, and then actually have like a ticker banner that goes across your entire mall. Or you could put it outdoor facing. So if you're in a retail establishment and you want to attract people, hey, there's a sale going on, or here's something neat. I love the applications when you see anything in the automotive industry, when you can have that transparent LED sort of look and actually the car in action, but then they're able to walk up and actually see the car behind it. It's really cool. So you can have sort of the best of both worlds of a display and not a display.
Right. Well, so we've talked about some of the industries that this is being used in.
Yeah.
And, it kind of lends to the discussion about ProAV and why ProAV is becoming such a fast-growing segment. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the applications that you're seeing there? And I guess maybe why are ProAV experts really kind of sitting up and taking notice of this technology?
Great question. within the ProAV space, ProAV it continues to grow year after year. Direct view LED specifically, depending on which source you're looking at, it's going to be anywhere between a 7 to 11% CAGR over the next 6 years. So even in the concerns of economic downturn and economic uncertainty in the near future, we're still getting double-digit growth projections. So it's a good market to be in, from pivoting the business to where it is going. Just more opportunities being created there. So getting on the forefront of the technology, learning what it does, how to use it is it's going to be key, especially over the next coming years. Ingram has done a great job of bringing a lot of specialists to really help facilitate those conversations and help with the builds, because there's still a lot of confusion. But where there's mystery, there's margin. So it's a really neat new environment. When we look at what happened over 2020 and 2021, everything, it accelerated the online shopping experience. And you looked at the percentage spends that increased in marketing through Facebook and Instagram, just unreal. Like the amount of ads and the amount of money that went into those organizations over the past couple of years, unreal. Now with everything opening back up, retail and brick and mortar is sort of combating the online shopping experience by building a better experience and changing the game a little bit. So 76% of adults shop online, but half of those prefer shopping in retail. So even if you have a product, you still need to have it in retail.
Right.
And the retail stance, it might be someone going in and doing a showroom type experience of, I want to see the product, and then I'll go online, I'll find the best price. But you still need to have the marketing element in the brick and mortar in that retail experience. So physical is huge. And the branding and experience within that is it's changing. And how do you embrace your customers? We look at Macy's. Macy's just deployed 451 Toys R Us stores.
That's right.
I'm not a clothing hip kind of person, but I have a couple kids. You know what? That's going to get me to go into Macy's this holiday season.
Yep.
So I think it's a great idea. But then my experience in there, direct view LED is a really great way that you can have a non-traditional display that's going to catch my eye. And when you have a non-traditional, so of static to digital, you have a 3x longer dwell time. So how many static signs have you even driven by today that have tried to market or sell you something you didn't notice?
Mm-hmm.
How many digital signs did you drive by today that you noticed? If you have a display if you have a display or moving image that is not in a traditional aspect ratio, then you have a 5x longer dwell time compared to digital. So if you have something neat, custom, and different, folks are going to look at that a little bit longer. Say, oh, that's cool. How are they like? It's really neat and different. So direct view gives you that opportunity to really build that. So yeah, definitely really, really cool application. So retail, absolutely huge right now. Certain things that you just can't get online. So we can buy fresh fruit and produce, but I like to just go look at the lettuce and say, yep, this is the piece that's coming home with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my salad out of this. So
yeah. Well, it's funny that brick and mortar are adding screens. They're kind of coming together and realizing that you need that experience, being able to have a little bit of wow of shopping in person, but you're adding a screen to it and adding even more to that experience that you can't get on just a screen with online shopping.
Exactly. And even as we move beyond retail, because there's so many different types of retail that's out there. Electronic shops, in clothing, food. There's so many different options. But the other piece that we're seeing a lot of activity around is like physical destinations, travel, experiences. We mentioned cruise ships. Cruise ships are a real big market. LG just came out with a direct view LED screen that is fully outdoor rated, but to be in an environment with like on the ocean with salt water. So really, I mean, that stuff's huge because now you're able to put screens outdoors on cruise ships. So we've done a lot of cool projects within the cruise ship space, especially with like our OLED technology too, has been fun. But stadiums, I mentioned scoreboards earlier. Yeah, go Bills. We got a new stadium that's being built here. They just released the renderings. We're recording this in early November. And yeah, they just released the renderings. It looks a super cool stadium. So there's going to be a lot of direct view LED technology that goes in there. Fremont Street, another really cool example of an experience. It's like five or six football fields long, and it's every few years they revamp it. And it's just awesome, really cool direct LED application. We just over the summer in Buffalo we had the virtual art gallery It was like a Van Gogh traveling art gallery.
Yes.
So depending on where you're listening to this from, it may have come to your city and stuff like that. You do see a lot of the direct view LED technology in there, direct view LED and projectors. It's really cool, some of the stuff they do with it. But that's how far that the technology's evolved, is that it's very hard to discern. Of course, obviously the real paint, so you'll get like the depth of the picture and stuff like that. But in terms of color accuracy, black levels, these displays can replicate that very, very, very well, to the point where you can look at that and it is art.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So yeah, it really brings it to life. The other main vertical I just want to call out, of course, is government, schools, K through 12. Seen a lot of opportunities within that space. Within the government space, anything with video walls, where you're doing a knock center, you're doing a big command center. The adoption of display technology across so many different channels in there has just been really strong. LG's been in a great position. We have a full trade compliant lineup, which is of course huge within the government space. But a lot of folks too, there's some concerns with what's happening with the economy over the next few years. And government, for what it's worth, is typically it's tagged as recession proof. So they're not going to shut their doors. So definitely a good market to kind of to be in with that space too.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we've gone over some of the most common uses and industries to give Ingram Micro partners and resellers an idea of who this might be great for. Let's go to the other spectrum and talk about what's possible. What are the coolest applications you've seen of direct view LED? And I guess, can you describe some of those experiences?
Yeah. So I'll throw out one super awesome. I'll throw out one super awesome and one kind of traditional that just is nicer. And the super awesome, I love Fremont Street. I think it's just really cool. But I love the Salesforce headquarters in San Francisco. And if you haven't seen this, they have their hallways that you go in to get to go to like the elevator, and the entire wall is covered in direct view LED. And they can change the situation. They can change the scenario based on whatever content's playing. So if they want water, they can have a waterfall, and then the water will splash around the hallway going in. It's one of those cases where a picture is worth 1,000 words. So when you get a chance, go on like YouTube and type in the Salesforce lobby. It is awesome. It's so cool. And it's not trying to sell you anything, but you have that sticky retention. You have that feeling of being in there, and it's super cool. The other one I'll throw out on the other side of the spectrum is more traditional in like a corporate boardroom. And it was like Microsoft did a study when it was basically like the size of the individuals on your screen and how that elicits your emotional response to that person. So if somebody on your video conference screen is super small and really tiny, you naturally think like they're farther away. So you may talk louder. You'll feel they're more distant, generally just farther away across the room. You don't feel as connected. On the other end of the spectrum, if someone's full screen face right up, like they're huge, they're massive on your screen, and it feels like they're 2 feet away, I'm like, that space is reserved for like my wife. Like, yeah. So it almost feels invasive at that point if they're too tall. So trying to get somebody to a natural size within just your display realm. LG's got it's 136 inch all in one, and in the corporate boardroom, it fits so incredibly well that it feels natural to have people on video call on the display. They're not too big. They're not too small. For the amount of, for your people dialing in, it's been an awesome little panel. It's an all-in-one bundle, all-in-one pre-configured. So it works really well. I think those are two of just the really wow applications.
Yeah. And you're right about, pictures worth 1,000 words. Because when we were talking and you're first describing the Salesforce lobby, I was like, okay, so I'm imagining, just a really big TV screen along a wall. But no, it's like if you're living in a lobby and you're kind of going to the hallways with all of the elevator entrances, it's literally around the doors. It's the whole entire, any type of flat surface that you have on that wall, that's where the screen. So, I mean, the possibilities with that are really kind of endless.
Yeah. I love the creativity too that we see from the communities. It's just, we mentioned the art exhibit, but things like museums and children's facilities where it's like you can truly engage, like putting displays on the floor. So when you step on it, water ripples.
Yeah.
So like just really fun stuff like that kind of brings the technology to life.
Right. Well, kind of bringing it to life with Ingram Micro partners and resellers. what is then the opportunity? There's the cool, there's the wow factor, but what advice do you have, or what would you urge partners and resellers to do in terms of taking it from, hey, this is possible, to, hey, this is being used?
Yeah, great question. And that's, where does the rubber actually meet the road? And I think the double-digit growth percentage that's being forecasted within the market is just going to make the voice of end users a little bit louder, that more and more folks are going to ask for this. But don't be afraid to have the question, because it really, as signage and displays continue to grow and they're more connected, they're hitting the networks. They're on the networks now. The Spiceworks, Ziff Davis, the number one spend in 2023 from an IT budget standpoint is around security. So you have that element that's factoring things as well, that you now have new devices that are going onto the network, and there's a lot of interest to make sure that network's really secured. So if you're in the networking space, it would behoove you to start to have a conversation around the display technology and see how do these displays actually interact. LG does have a line where it's no connectivity at all to help overcome that objective, but their customers, the end users, are looking to purchase this technology, but you also have to make sure that it's in a safe fashion. So if you're in a security standpoint, if you're a managed service provider, MSSP, CSP, there's a lot of different elements to this technology that are impacting and are around your business. And it's just a matter of asking the question. I mean, your next QBR, hey, what are you doing for advertising? Is your HR looking to expand their reach to make awareness of open enrollment? So that's also a big thing that we're seeing too. So bring up the question and then just seeing where it goes.
Right. Well, as we do start to wrap up our episode today, the final question, and that's, where do you see technology going in the next year? So we can stay within this space and talk about what are we going to see in 2023?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think we mentioned a lot of the cool applications, and I get really excited. I genuinely get goosebumps when I work on a cool project. So I think as the content and the technology really merge, that anamorphic stuff is just on the super cool and fun range. But I love the idea of doing displays on the floor and on the wall, and then having that be fully interactive. I'm working on a project right now where we're doing something like that for a children's museum, and it's going to be pretty awesome. It'd be really awesome to see the kids kind of interact with everything. So yeah, super excited about that. That's coming in 2023. So.
Excellent. Well, for listeners who have any questions about anything we talked about today or want to find out more, how can they reach out?
Yeah, so definitely LG_team at ingrammicro.com. That is the LG team. Dedicated resources there. They are specialists in all things LG. They can help get you in contact with the right individuals, whether it be a vertical specialist, conversations around finance, deployment, logistics, anything like that. So a great team to start with there. And then, of course, you can get a hold of me, Twitter at Mike on Display. So
excellent.
Definitely reach out to me, and then we'll have our contact information, I'm sure, in the notes as well.
Fantastic. Mike, thank you so much for joining me.
Shelby, always a pleasure. I look forward to our next conversation. It's super fun. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. If you like this episode or have a question, please join the discussion on Twitter with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Until next time, I'm Shelby Skrhak.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. This episode was sponsored by Ingram Micro's Imagine Next. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production with Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton and Christine Fan. To not miss an episode, subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.